Expedition 33 is set to launch here very soon. I have a ton of pre-launch info and details there, including a developer interview as well as additional comments on the game overall, some insider details, what to expect for pre-download and launch day. Last up, there's a ton of community mentionables and your most asked questions, as well as a whole bunch more. What's up world, it's Utopia back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Expedition 33. First up, let's go over those pre-launch info. That dev interview will cover a few things there. Now I do want to clarify, I was actually given early access to the demo. This demo wasn't public, it was only for creators. A lot of my gameplay and takes is of my own. Jumping back to it though, again we did get a pre-download. However, this is only for the Game Pass or Xbox version, but it also does include the Windows Store. You technically can download on PC right now. However, you would have had to have purchased the game through Windows Store or Game Pass, or this person does show that you can download it through the Xbox app on PC. It's also, again, of course, available to download on an Xbox Series X and S, which people are showcasing right now is around 42.7 gigabytes on Xbox, whereas on PC it does seem slightly smaller at 41 gigabytes, at least via the Windows Xbox client. And yes, that does mean the game has gone gold. So as you can see here, 33 days until launch and they've officially gone gold. The final build is locked. So this game has been cooking and has cooked and is ready to go. So there is no delays, there's no chance of any delay there. We'll go over a dev interview in a bit that kind of goes on that. Really cool to see there that they got the game ready and set to go. As we've seen with recently, a lot of games that are going to console as well as PC have been delayed on the console version. Not getting that this time, they are ready to go. I can tell you from my experience, the game feels very smooth, albeit with a bit weird of motion blur that I hope they fixed on launch. Seems like even when you turn off motion blur, it doesn't really do anything. I'm hoping that they fix that. I'm sure they will, as I just played the preview/demo version, and that was not the full build. Usually those are made way in advance and are even a separate client and separate entity. And as they mentioned here in this dev interview that was posted 7 days ago, there is no chance of it being delayed. Of course not, it's gone gold and passed all the certifications there, which if you didn't know, every console game has to pass a certification, those both on the PlayStation and Xbox side of things. I assume they have over on PlayStation. PlayStation doesn't really have anything gone gold like Xbox does with their notions, but I assume since we have this article here talking about there's not going to be any delay, that it will be in our hands on April 24th, which yes, if you didn't know, it is coming out on April 24th, so it will be here very soon. However, as of right now, we don't have any global launch notion or what time we're going to be seeing that at. However, with that, there are physical copies. So this game is getting a physical release for both the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X. It is $5 more than the Steam version and digital version. And also, speaking of which, the digital version of the Xbox app client is also $49. Steam is on sale for 10% off, although this is a day one Game Pass title, so you can't just get it with Game Pass. But with the notion of there being physical copies, we're more than likely going to see a midnight release. So it might not be a global launch time, it might be just dependent on where it is at midnight. So if you do the New Zealand trick for Xbox, you might be able to play the game a day before people. There's probably going to be some stuff there, but it does seem like it's going to be April 24th at midnight. Your local time is the launch. At least that's what I would assume for this overall, as I don't believe there are any servers. It's just a single player game. Jumping back over, we have another dev interview here, going over some of the details within the game itself. Now the headliner here is they won't have a minimap to preserve its sense of discovery. I believe they are right here. When you do have a minimap, you end up relying on it, which I 100% agree with. It definitely left room for me to explore the map. They also, of course, don't have a map because every previous expedition failed. So yes, sometimes it can be difficult to find their way. Hence the name Expedition 33. Now there was something that wasn't in my preview demo. They have actually added a compass, just so you can find north easily and get direction more easily. I actually do agree with this one. There was occasional times where the landscapes kind of morphed together. I mean, this game is incredibly beautiful if you can't tell from the footage. Now these are all in the opening areas that I'm showcasing, so nothing too spoilery and no cutscenes, but it is insanely beautiful. This game is very, very pretty. You can clearly tell that they're all handcrafted areas, very unique from one another. You're going to want to explore. Speaking of the world, they went on to explain here that they went for a fairly linear or semi-open world level with path opportunities. They said this design actually has some links with From Software games, which is where there are linear levels, but they're really intense. The game director also does mention he's a big fan of From Software games, but he's actually a Sekiro speedrunner as well. He said he can't wait to see players doing no damage runs, which are technically possible and achievable, although they are very hard to do. Some mechanics are very hard to dodge and parry, which the dodge and parry mechanic is so cool in a turn-based game. I absolutely love it. It was very fun to play with. Moving on, we have some last additional dev updates here in comments. So somebody asked here about the progress being saved and handled. If your party is wiped in an encounter, does the game revert back to the last manual save? Now they mention here, when your party is wiped, you have more than 3 people in the expedition. There is also an option to send into your reserve team. So the reserve team will comprise of the expeditioners who have not yet fought. Failing that, there are frequent autosaves. This can be when you rest at a rest point, when you pick up an item, or when you win an encounter. You'll respawn at that last autosave. You can of course manually save at any point you see fit. In order to manually save though, you will have to go to those rest points. They are much like a Dark Souls game or Elden Ring, where you have to get to a campfire and then you can rest at the flagpole. It's the same thing, just different graphically. Now there was one more ask here about the clarification on save features and also being able to manually swap teams. So as they mentioned here, you can actively swap party members in and out at will. Between encounters, those who are not active will be sent in when you are active with your party being wiped. So essentially there will be a reserve team. I didn't get to experiment with that as I only had 3 or 4 members in my party at a time. Technically 2 at the very start, as you slowly of course gather up expeditioners. Again, not really much of a spoiler there. If you have a larger team, you're going to have to, of course, meet these people. As you do go down the line, you will meet more and more. I will have to say the voice acting in this game is top-notch. If you didn't know, one of the characters is actually voiced by Jennifer English, and she was Shadowheart in BG3. I knew I recognized that voice. It was so cool to find that out. It was very good for voice acting and story all around. I'm surprised for it being this type of game to actually pull me in like that, but it 100% definitely did. Even if you're not into turn-based stuff, this game is really fun to play, especially with the dodge and parry mechanic. You should really give it a go. It is a lot more action-packed than you would think. Speaking of the characters in general, if you do want to get caught up on them, they actually have been and are doing weekly character trailers. They did just drop the one for Loon. If you want to check that one out, I will link to it down below. Moving on to some more last-minute mentionables from the community. This first one is they've hit 1 million wish lists, which is absolutely insane. If you guys didn't know, this is actually a much smaller studio, technically reminiscent of an indie dev. They only have 30 employees working on this game, so pretty crazy to see this put together. Again, from my experience, this game is incredible, and I really do think it's going to make waves, hence why I'm covering it now. And I've also joined their partner program. Now, 2 other last-minute mentionables here. This first one, I wasn't able to find an official Discord for Expedition 33. Normally, I always include a game's Discord in the description if they have one, although this time around I couldn't find one. Quite surprised about that. There is an unofficial one if you guys want to join. Now, this one was done by this subreddit moderator. I'm in it right now. I just joined today. If you do want to check it out, I will link to it down below. If they do ever bring out an official one, which I hope they do so, I will link to that as well. One other one here is that people asking about how many endings there might be. Someone pointed out that it's more of a story game and probably more linear. There wasn't any actions I could do within cutscenes. They all just play it out for you, but I didn't mind that at all. In fact, like I said, the storyline and cutscenes were fantastic. My only issues with the game, if I had to mention any, were hopefully they get rid of that blur or motion blur that happens, although the game feels incredibly smooth. And then also I hope that they can align the lip to voice acting a little bit. I think the audio is off in the preview. Other than that though, this game is going to be incredible. I do think it's going to make waves. Overall, that's about covered for today's video. If you enjoyed it, like, subscribe, and until the next one, deuces.